let's do the Pledge of Allegiance first. Mark, you want to lead us on that?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Call to order, Pledge of Allegiance, it's up to you, Mark.
Make a motion to approve the regular minutes for March 25th.
I have one correction.
Who's the second?
I'm not going to, okay, I'll second it, but I have discussion of it.
Yep, now
I'll
it's
second.
discussion, yeah, go ahead.
So on page 3, item D, Sherry Domino was not appointed to the Energy Commission, she was appointed to the Conservation Commission.
Right.
The copy of the agenda that Sue got was different from the copy that was corrected, because she applied for the Conservation Commission, and she was approved for the Conservation Commission, but Sue didn't know that, and so as she took the minutes, I'm sure she just filled in Energy Commission. Okay? So, if Mark would read it, you'll have amended.
Make a motion to approve the
Got a
minutes.
couple of them.
Oh,
Okay. Sue,
Right. They're all in the Conservation Commission.
on page 3, under C, the second motion, I believe Mark made a motion similar to the next motion, which was to authorize the chief to apply for a grant, and then the rest of it, the $1,500 would be part of it. Because the chief asked us to approve filing for grants. And then on page 4, right at the top, underneath Mark's motion, you gave me credit with regard to noting what Ann Heffernan was doing, but I believe that was Lori who spoke about the change of the evolution of the governance committee, and that she and Ann are going to be working on that.
And there was one other thing that I found.
Instead of saying her name is Lori?
Yeah, Rhodiola, yeah.
I don't know if anyone,
Yes.
Where it says hot well garden noted, and
Just above new business.
there was one other thing I noted on the online ones. I'm having a hard time finding it in the printed ones here. There was a paragraph in which Bill said something that was repeated later in the online text, but maybe it's been taken out, so that's good.
That's it for me, Mark.
If Bill didn't see it, though, I'm sure it got taken out.
Enjoy too much credit, Jeff.
make a motion to approve the regular minutes as amended for March 25th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to approve the non-public sessions, March 25th. Sessions 1 and 2.
Second by Jay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, public input. Too early? Okay, Mark. Yeah, come right up here and sit in that chair if you want.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Just, on something that was discussed last meeting about the sign in town hall. Alan, brought that up at Crawford Connection this morning. And I had the idea that the sign would probably be better served after the new fire station, not in the center of the fire station, but probably on the south piece of the property. I think you'll get more traffic, and I think you'll get less resistance from people saying that this doesn't fit into the character of this historic area. So that's something I just wanted to convey to the board to consider.
Would that entail removing the existing sign?
No, you just leave the sign here. You mean,
I'm saying at Town Hall, remove that sign, because there is a safety issue.
that sign there, and we just post the hours on there?
So just leave it, not change it.
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting. And that way, you know, if it's on the south end of the property, they won't interfere with the vision of the fire trucks pulling in and out, as well as the traffic seeing the fire trucks or vehicles. And it kind of just fit more into that type of building. It's more of a modern building than a historic looking building. It's just an idea, so.
Very interesting. We'll note it, and we'll talk about when we come up, we'll bring that up. Thank you
Can
for
I
that.
respond to that?
You
Just a
can.
moment. If we
You
do
can.
want to go with that, the fire station, we need to do a trench for the power line probably soon, sooner instead of later.
Can you repeat that? I missed.
Yeah, if we decide to go with that, we should probably build the trench for the power line sooner instead of later for that, in front of the fire station.
Good point. When is the future for us to discuss something like this? Is it close, where we would bring it up again?
About the sign?
Yeah,
We can add it to the agenda
for the next meeting?
whenever you,
Well, if that's the case, if we ever do decide that, we might want to make sure we put it on the agenda soon, right? Sooner than later,
right. Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, no, I would just look for, if the board wants me to look into, getting free proposals and getting a cost analysis on an electronic sign versus
Oh,
that, or,
Could you look into electronic sign at Town Hall versus an electronic sign at the fire station? There's two alternatives.
you're going to need a lot more time than that. So
Yeah.
you let me know when you feel
I
that
think
we
it
could,
would probably have a different look to it
That's a
if we were
lot.
gonna go with the fire,
Right.
at the fire station versus at town.
And the other thing is, could we look at Swanzey sign makers if possible?
Look
Because
at-
there's a number of sign manufacturers here in Swansea. It would be neat if we could get someone local.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
okay.
And just keep in mind, that one at fire station will require clearings and post.
Yep. Yep,
So you want me to, look into getting a couple.
right, and then let me know when you do, and then we'll put it on the agenda.
Okay.
But we won't pick a date now until, we don't know how long, what time you have to do that. Great.
If it's gonna be fire station, it would have to be relatively quickly.
Well, I'll keep in touch with her, and I'll call her and see where we're at.
Excellent.
Any more public input? Okay, I'm gonna move on. We have a nomination for Barbara Scully for the ARLAC reappointment there. So who is, are they here?
Oh, Barbara, this is just reappointing her.
Oh,
I move to appoint Barbara Scully to the Ashwell River Local Advisory Committee.
Second?
all in favor?
Can I just say one thing about her first? She's done a superb job, and we're honored to have her.
Great. It's approved. You good with that, Sue? You all set, Sue? You saw the... I did. I said all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I thought I did that.
Well, Alan,
Yeah,
you spoke at
Alan
the same
interrupted.
time.
Oh, we spoke at the same time.
Sorry for
It's all right.
off your pace.
It's all right. You want to do the next one?
I move to appoint Ashley Guyon to the trustee of the trust funds as an alternate member as recommended by the trustee of the trust fund.
Second? Sue, can we note that there's no R in her last name?
And also, how many year terms?
I think it's 3-year terms for alternates, no matter what.
It was
Same- Alternates are always the same amount of terms as, same term as a regular member.
So until
Do you need him to redo the motion with saying it's a 3-year term?
no, I think as long as we just capture.
We're good there?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the second.
Mm-hmm.
All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Okay. I don't see Ashley.
Yes, and she was supposed to send me a memo, actually. We may be able to call her though, because I think she said something about having, to be in 2 places at once. Let me see.
Only 2?
I know. See if she can call in.
What? Well,
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion or ask you to consider moving items C and F to the beginning of new business.
Oh, good.
I'll second that.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So you just have to show me what you're talking about CNF over here. Huh?
Was that?
Yeah. That's an E.
Oh, E, okay.
That's what threw me.
Oh, all right.
C and E. It's not C and F.
Well, it's F on my sheet.
And you want to move them to new
That's on
business.
mine, too.
No, it is F, Jimmy.
Oh, it is, it looks like an E. There's a line on the bottom of
I
that.
know, I'm just looking at the agenda. You're further along.
And you want me to go
business.
into new business, when I go to new business.
New business.
Which is now.
I think he's.
All right, so what are we gonna do with Ashley? Not, yeah, we're
So
gonna
I
move
just
that,
asked
wait.
her, do you want to just hold on and see if she can call in and we can move on with the others, if that works?
Yeah, because I think there's somebody here for that, right? Are you here for that now? Yeah. So we're gonna put that on hold right now, Laurie?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's, now we're into the new business, Mark? Is there a motion here?
No, just,
Bill made a motion,
Bill just made a motion and
Yes,
seconded
and
it.
I seconded it.
Okay, so we're in that right now, new
So now we're in-
business, so.
See,
Okay, so we're at C here. The painting for the Grange Hall. They wanted to do it, so you want to give us a little brief on that, on the painting on the Grange Hall? Or Stefan, would you like to? Tell us where we stand with that?
Oh, there's my water.
So it is my understanding that the Preservation Society was interested in having the Grange Hall painted, and they received a generous donation of the entirety of the job completed by a local contractor. In my personal opinion, I would wait until the work that has to be done to the structure is executed, but because it is an unknown of the timeline for that, it could be understandable that it's done now, because it is a bit of an eyesore at the moment, so that is my personal opinion on that.
I think how it came into play for me was, Elaine had reached out to me, to see about getting a letter for, the gentleman who offered to the paint job, which was approved by the prior board, as you all know. So I just added that to my list to just, get a letter off to, him, because that's what he had requested. But he already has obviously permission to go ahead and do that, which is great. It's wonderful that he's doing that. So Stefan and I just talked, and we were also working, and we knew that Elaine and a couple of people on the committee were looking to submit for an LCHIP grant, which they need a letter of intent by May of this year. And we've been just kind of, talking and collaborating and trying to figure out, okay, well, we need a project to submit for, because LCHIP's really, they specialize in the preservation, and it's really intensive. So in order to be able to submit for a project like that, you have to really have everything laid out ahead of time. And so we did submit for congressional spending also for that, to see if they would be able to fund us some money. And so our intent with just asking if they could wait till the fall was to be able to apply for, because we could use those funds as in-kind funds on the grant application, which would be amazing, and then we would actually double the money. So, because whatever LCHIP, say you're approved for $100,000 of LCHIP, the town has to pay a 50% match of that, so the town would be responsible for $50,000. But you can also use in-kind funds as part of that project. So that would reduce the town's cost by another probably $40,000, because whatever the quote was, or whatever they're charging us. So we were just hoping that we could kind of borrow the money a little bit, and take that burden off the town. But obviously, it's at the board's discretion, and they're already approved to do the work. We just didn't, we were just trying to help, I guess, get some more money.
Well, go ahead, Jay.
No, I don't have anything to say. I'm thinking.
Oh, okay.
Can I say something then while you're thinking?
Yeah, you can.
If the L-chip grant was a sure thing, that'd be one thing about it, but it's not really, it's very competitive, it's not really a sure thing. And we wait till fall and then you don't get it, there's another whole year that goes by, so I'm not sure that gamble was worth it.
Yeah, because I was about to agree to the same thing, you know, it's money now, really it's money, because it would cost a lot to have that painted, and we could risk them not, in the fall, this company getting busy and they said they can't do it, then we could risk not even getting it, and that's what ran through my head, that I think, personally, I think that we should try to do it sooner than later, and just move forward with it. And the reason this came up, Stefan, is that I just think that, you know, in the future, we have to decide that with the board here first, and I think that's why it was brought here. But just so you know, and you guys explained why, and you had an argument there, not an argument, but a reason why you were doing that. But no one here on this board knew that reason. You know, all we saw is that we're gonna push it up to the fall. So that's why it was brought here. But now that we have it here, I think we should come to a board decision on this, and whether we move forward or we don't on it. Does anybody would like to?
I would like to say something.
Yeah.
Stefan is right. It is an eyesore right now. And I know we're hoping to do some activities there at Old Homes Days. We'd like to get it spruced up and looking good for those events. So yes, I'm definitely in favor of doing it as soon as possible.
And I would say that this man has made a generous offer to the town, and we don't know what his schedule is. He's got other projects, I'm sure. And if was assuming he'd be doing it right away this spring, which I imagine he is, because he made the offer last year, and now we're here, we should take him up on it now before we lose him. I'm worried that we might
Let me
lose.
ask you this, the letter went to him, are we able to call him back and tell him we're not gonna wait? Are we at that stage of it right
Yeah,
now?
technically, he didn't meet, you know, he's already been authorized for the board, so he could just reach out and say. when-
So we would just reach out to him
We can just
tomorrow
tell him.
and say, listen,
Yeah,
we
when at
decided,
your convenience.
right,
Yeah.
you can start this, the sooner the better for us, and
Yeah,
that's
which is what I did say in the letter was at your convenience, but we would prefer.
I read that at the
fall,
end
but
of
yeah.
that, right.
Yeah. But that's fine, yeah.
Billy, did you have any thought about it?
Just three things.
Yeah.
One, I don't think we should require him to give 2 weeks' notice. I think that he may not have the opportunity to give 2 weeks' notice. I think we should request a certificate of insurance naming us as an additional insured, and also a copy of his lead paint certification. Those should be in the letter as well.
Okay.
I agree.
Mark,
I agree with that.
you agree with that? Well, what Bill said to add to this letter and that, is everybody on the same page of we'll get it going as soon as possible, we'll give Laurie,
Sounds
have
like it.
Laurie call him, and Laurie, you see if you can move ahead with that?
Yeah.
All right.
Excellent.
Go ahead.
One other thing I would say,
Yes.
if you are gonna have it painted now, I do recommend looking at the windows now. I remember we got a quote in the last 2 years for window restoration, and I probably pair that together. And there's a little bit of funding for the
To
grant.
explain the window what do you mean? Changing the windows out?
No, restoring them, like fixing them. Some of them are cracked, a
Oh.
lot of the frames have shifted. Like, if you were doing exterior work and you wanted to look nice, I would probably pair that with the windows.
Is it the glass panes that you're saying that need to be replaced? Is that what it is? Or the frames or anything
I
like
think when
that?
they did it, they said there was maybe 3 or 4 windows that might have to be replaced, and frames, I don't remember how many.
Maybe while they're up there with the staging or whatever they're doing, we can. Okay, good thought.
Joe DeRusso had requested that the windows be held off until a determination is made with regard to the foundation. So
Because of the
it's
movement.
potential movement.
I think what Stefan's saying is maybe just fix the little panes that are broken. So if we're gonna paint it to make it look good from the outside, it'd probably a reasonable, cheap cost, right? No, it isn't?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not that simple?
Do you guys remember how much it was? Was it 20?
For a full restoration of the windows, which is what we kind of wanted, it's $1,100 per window, but we can try it for another loose plate grant. They come with the,
Yeah, but Billy brought up a good, go ahead, Scott.
And you're talking about thermal painting the windows like it's done in here, is what you're talking about. Yeah, $1,100 worth of thermal painting, insulating glass. But yeah, painting the building and some of the things you were talking about is just fixing the windows so they look good. But is a good idea probably to pull up on that, because also, if you end up, say, putting strong windows on that building, which is a possibility anyways, you could easily be removing windows one by one with strong windows on there, and have this building still tight, and do the windows one by one further on down the road, as you get $1,100 or $2,200 to do those windows like that, to fully restore them one by one like that. That's a possibility.
Yeah, and I think one of the most important thing is what Bill said is that, you know, until we know in the foundation, if we're gonna shift that building in any manner, we could offset the windows, you know, we could set it.
We're not gonna shift it.
In mind, that's
We're not gonna shift it because we lose the historical nature of it, so.
Yeah, but that, it's not gonna move at all, you say? We don't know that.
We'll lose the historical nature of the building if we do.
We've asked to get documentation on that part.
Okay.
I'm talking about if we have to jack that building, Scott, you know there's gonna be things that aren't gonna stay square.
I've jacked buildings before.
What?
I've jacked buildings before. I do know that they, yeah, do know that they move and that shifting part, but it's not like you're thinking. Really, it isn't. Really.
They didn't propose jacking it though,
My
right?
house was the barn right there on this house here, and that was jacked up and moved all the way down there. But, yeah, you know, if you dislodge the window or something like that, it's one thing if the building's way out of shape and you're trying to straighten it up, then yeah, you might have a stuck window because you're trying to straighten it up and that window's been sagging for like 50, 60 years. But if you're jacking your building up in kind, you're letting it down in kind, and unless you don't do it properly, it's gonna stay as it was.
And Jay is right, it may not be, but I think we've got somebody that wants to do the work, he wants to do it now, and we should give him the opportunity to go ahead. The amount of painting that's gonna be required to remedy the windows afterwards is insignificant compared to the fact that if we lose this opportunity, we're not getting anywhere.
Okay, we're gonna move on,
I
okay?
think Lillian had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Billy, you said the historical nature or historical documentation of the building, you just mentioned that. We do have that documentation.
So we're just asking to see that because a portion of the building was jacked up back in the 90s. And so the question is, and there's some sill rot, so and that's the only way you can replace the sills is to jack it. So if it has been jacked up, has it already lost its historical significance? So if it hasn't lost it, huh?
It's still registered.
No, I understand that. So if it's been jacked and hasn't lost its, it has been. It's in the assessment report. It indicated that the southwest corner was jacked in order to replace and repair the foundation under it. So it's just a question, but I think at this point, we've got somebody that wants to paint it. And now is when he wants to do it. I didn't want to get sidetracked. I'm sorry I interrupted Jay. I don't want to get sidetracked with that. I'd just like to see the gentleman have the opportunity to get his sign out front and donate his time and materials. Yeah.
The sooner we get the building looking nicer, the better for the town, I think.
Exactly.
So let's get going. Let's do it.
So just one question, Lori, concerning the L-chip grant, do you want another big price element to use to apply for the L-chip grant?
Well, the foundation, I think that's where we need to start. I don't know if LGIP would pay for that, but I think that, the board should consider, since that is the foundation of the building, we should figure out what does it need? Does it need to be jacked up and put a whole new foundation, or does it need, repointing, because we talked about that, and repointing, window, restoration, those are all part of LGIP. You have to follow, the Secretary for Interior standards and all of that, so the person has to be qualified to do all that. But yeah, you could submit and for, say you added everything up, part of the foundation, the windows, I have to read through that assessment report that was done. You have to have an assessment report that was no more than 10 years. Not older than 10 years old, which ours makes that cut. So we should be able to just sit down and go through to find out, but I think starting with the foundation is most important.
Do we know what the fix to the foundation should be? You know, I've heard three different ways of fixing the foundation.
Well, that's what I mean, we would need a structural engineer
Right.
to
So
tell us.
would the L-chip cover the cost of having a structural engineer come?
Probably not. I mean, what would that cost us, like $2,500?
Okay.
The CIP committee did put away $7,500, I believe.
And there's some money there already, so,
Yep, they gave some
Okay.
funding for that.
so can we move forward with getting a structural engineer to look at the place?
Interesting that that question should come up.
Yeah, I think Bill can answer this.
How much of an overlap there is with this report that's on the website? I mean, there's a lot of information in here.
Yeah, but it was an architect.
All right, let's, Billy, why don't you explain your side of
Well, we take care of the
engineer?
painting
Didn't you have
first.
something in mind?
Let's do with the painting first, yeah.
Yeah, that's where we're going off track here. So,
I make a motion, we authorize the person who volunteered to paint the building to go ahead and do it as soon as possible.
And I second that.
all in favor with that?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Billy, why don't you revisit on engineering, somebody coming out to look at that, because I think you already had something you were thinking about, right?
Yeah, we've had, essentially heard two specifically different proposals.
Correct.
And then there's a third that was put out by Dubois and King. So one of them was essentially a sealing of the foundation, if I understand that correctly, Robert, of about $25,000, which was proposed by Hunter Foundations. And then the second was a tour through that Joe DeRusso did with a local contractor, and the fee for that was $150,000. One involved jacking the building, the other one did not. And that's where the question comes in as to whether jacking the building diminishes its historical significance or not. And then there's the third, which was done by Dubois and King, which is sort of a modified replacement of it. So what I asked Joe about was, what if we got a third party, no connection to anybody, and there is one structural engineer who's been in the business for about 5 decades, and the primary structural engineer in Cheshire County. His name is Steve Tarbox, and I called him. He's in semi-retirement, but he was intrigued by the project, and he said it was something that if the Preservation Society was willing to go forward with it, and the board authorized it, that he would be interested in taking a look at the structure with Joe and then coming back with a recommendation. And you read his mind, his fee would be no more than $2,500. And that way we'd have a true structural engineer. Nobody in the county would question because he's so well regarded, and we'd have an answer.
And he doesn't have no meat in the game,
He's
which
got-
I like.
Yeah, he's got.
That's
he
what
didn't even know
I
about the
find it
building.
very important, you know, because we've been bringing contractors out there, they're the ones that want to do it. I'd rather have a guy there's nothing
Right.
to look at it. I think it's the way we should do it.
I agree.
And the Preservation Alliance has a number of listed entities as well that are structural engineers and have preservation background, so that's what the state
The
told me.
name does ring a bell.
He's been around forever.
I mean, we're all over the place with this, different people saying this, and we got to put it closer to where we are going with this. Like Laurie says, we have to have these answers. Scott, go ahead.
Just one observation, if you appoint a building committee for that building, that's what the building committee would do, what you're talking about now.
Yeah, but we haven't got to the committee part of this yet. Wait a minute.
I'm
Let's,
just saying, if you do
I-
that,
yeah,
I mean, you guys wouldn't have to decide that, you just decide if the recommendation by the committee was correct or not, or if you want to go forward with that. You wouldn't be having to put in your time to tour the engineers and do this and that, decide.
well, I haven't heard that other side of this yet, so I couldn't answer that. I haven't understood the committee part yet. So I
Well,
want to wait.
they're going to present it as soon as.
I want to see that, and then, so why don't we do this? Why don't they present the committee part, and we'll go backtrack,
Sure.
okay? So who's presenting the committee part of this?
So do you want me to move forward with
With the,
contact?
with the painting letter.
So with the painting letter, not Steve yet,
Oh, thank you, Eileen.
because this could have some effect in it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eileen. While we're waiting, I just want to thank Mark for tuning me in on the assessment report. I'd read it, but it was so long ago. It's amazing how many gray areas there are in that report. You know, Lillian, like you mentioned, with jacking the building, you lose the historical aspect. But if you have to move the building, you don't necessarily lose the historical perspective. It's really intriguing. I'd encourage anybody to read it.
I think with the wall, as long as you're using the original materials, which are like materials, you don't lose the historical aspect of it. To replace the foundation wall, you definitely don't lose it, unless you have a reason. You get to stay with the road.
Sure. Well, I wonder too if you replace the base but maintain the brick and reuse the existing brick, which is the part that's visible. I wonder whether that would work.
Yeah, I don't know, but to me, it sounds like that could happen, but I don't know for sure.
Sure.
All right.
Anyway.
Who's presenting?
Can you come right up here and sit right here? And pull that microphone a little closer, because I don't think, is that all right, like that distance? Are we hearing her?
How's that?
Yeah. Okay, good.
Well, a group of us met last week and came up with a recommendation for the committee. And I just handed it out, but I can read it if you want. Per the recommendation of the Select Board member Bill Hotwalker, we request the board's approval to form a town-appointed Grange Hall Building Committee. The purpose of this committee is to research, prioritize work, explore options, obtain estimates, and support construction-related activities of the Goldenrod Grange Hall. Recommended committee members are Alan Gross, Scott Self, Mark Scalera, Rob Kenny, Lillian Chiaricella, Linda Minichello, and myself, Eileen Longe.
All right. I have just one question. The committee that we have now, we have a Grange committee, correct?
Yeah.
Is that what it's considered?
The advisory committee.
How many on the committee that we exist now are on this list?
We're all on that, and the reason for that is...
Everybody on here is on the original Grange committee.
It is.
Okay.
Because we feel that because the board hasn't addressed the MOU for the advisory committee, it went defunct. Because we needed the MOU to keep going, and we didn't get that, so we decided, well, the building committee would be better than the advisory committee anyways, because we weren't getting anywhere with that.
So what happens to the advisory committee? What happens to that?
I know, that's a good question. What happened to it?
So I don't understand why we don't just have it all, go ahead, Stefan.
It's sunset.
It's what?
It's sunset. It's no longer a valid entity.
Oh,
What did you need the MOU for?
To reinstate that committee. And it wasn't addressed and we never got it.
I don't know what the hell.
So we just figured it was going defunct.
Okay,
So that's gone.
so that's gone.
So that's gone.
So this would be a whole new group, a whole new label on this committee, right?
Well, it's not a new label on an old committee, it's a whole different committee.
Okay. All right. And this committee would be just on, what would they do? Explain it to us briefly, what they would do. They would research the building and what we need to do and prioritize things of what should be first, what should be second.
Right.
I get it.
You would make recommendations to the
And,
board.
yeah,
They would bring their recommendations to the board.
Eileen?
So, go ahead, Jay. So Scott, you said like, when that came up tonight to bring in a guy to really evaluate that. Now, we would put that on your committee, you guys would research it, maybe talk to this guy, Steve, on your own, and then make your decision whether that should be the next step we would take, and you'd bring it back to us. So we just stated, you do all the legwork on it. Is there legwork to do on that? I mean, does the board feel that is there legwork to do on that, or are we comfortable enough to just move to that and then still put the committee? Or would you like to see the committee do that, guys?
I'd like to see the committee do that personally.
We'd probably also be looking for other people recommended to be on the committee.
Would the board consider having staff members on there? I feel it would be important to have our DPW, who's in charge of the buildings on that committee, and maybe myself or Stefan, somebody. I feel
Yeah.
like staff should be on it.
Definitely facilities director for sure.
Which would be Joe DeRusso. Yeah, we gotta see if Joe has the time to do this too, right? Or we could have the committee make sure they throw things by Joe, right?
Well, I just think it would be important, I've been on several committees in other towns, just like an oversight committee, and you would normally have the town administrator and like you said, somebody in charge of the buildings on the committee. Because while one's looking at the financial side of things, and Joe would be looking at the structural.
Makes
side
a lot of
things,
sense.
And then obviously the public's, our community members, research and.
And you guys would have no resistance to that, right? You guys would be okay with that, right? Adding,
My understanding was this would get posted for like 10 days, and whoever showed an interest, the board would decide whether or not they'd be part of this committee, as well as the recommendation of the members presented tonight. And if there's town people included in that, so as long as we're all working in the same direction, to do things as safely and efficiently as possible, and cost. So, yeah, I wouldn't see any objection to that at all. I wouldn't even think of it that way.
go ahead, Joe.
Eileen, is there anyone here on the membership list that you had here who's got experience looking for grant opportunities, or are you going to be counting on people in the town offices to do that kind of work?
The Preservation Society itself has worked on obtaining grants, and we're working with Lori.
Okay, I just want to be sure that I'm looking at other than explore options, I'm not sure where in that mission statement it says actively seek funding and stuff like that, so I'm hoping that that's part of the work of this committee.
Yeah, that was my omission, that should be in there.
Okay, that's, because I think that's an important part of this committee work. And I think that we're all hopeful that we can find money elsewhere so we can get this done.
Okay, so go ahead, Mark, you had some more to add?
One of the things that I think we'll focus on, certainly on my mind, is, what businesses in town can provide services, can provide materials. An example, I've heard the committee talk about, maybe a ribbon cutting for FWF. It's maybe it's too late now. But if that was the case, I would think that the Preservation Society would go and speak to them and say, this would be a wonderful gesture for you to get back to the town at this ribbon cutting. Do a $30,000 allotment for plumbing materials or something. Take advantage of things like that. Just be thoughtful and be aware of what's going on in town, and just approach the people. And the worst they can do is say no. So, that's part of the reason why we really want to paint it for Old Home Day, because I think people are going to hopefully say, wow, understand what was done, how it was done, and maybe sign up to be part of it, in the future.
Okay, so let's go to the main subject here. So the committee, is everybody in favor of forming this new committee, and everybody agreeable to this?
Yes.
Mark? And now let me ask the next question. Would you be comfortable if we appoint Laurie to it and have Laurie kind of sit in on it, and we'll offer it to Joe, and we'll see, and you guys are comfortable with Joe and Laurie maybe joining this? Are you guys okay with that?
And others too.
And others too, but,
How about Stefan?
That's, yeah.
Stefan, would you be interested?
As long as they have time to do it. I did want to mention, we have had town residents offer help with the grant writing.
Okay.
Good news.
But I think before, I would caution you on getting too large of a group. It's, you end up with just who's going to control the hen house. And I think you really need to be focused. I would encourage you to find additional people with a construction background to be a part of the committee. Maybe some of the people that are on this committee could focus their efforts more on the fundraising aspect. It seems to me that the excitement I had when I saw who was on this committee was in large part due to my experience with their experience, and I just would encourage you to seek out additional contractor or people with contracting background. Because one of the things we've had is the inability to get off the dime, and I think you've got a real opportunity to do that here. But an overly large committee, and normally I'm one that says, let's get 20 people involved because you're going to end up with 12. But you got some real targeted people here that are very, very focused, and I'd like to see you take advantage of them.
So there's 7 people on the list here. If we add Stefan and Lori and Joe or something like that, it's 10. I would say maybe advertising for maybe 2, 3 more. That's it. I mean, even that might be unwieldy. I mean, unless you divide it up into subcommittees who work on different things.
Now, will this need to be posted for the public if they wanted to join the committee? Then it would be, we still could try to recruit people.
Yeah.
But if it's gonna be posted too, then it'll get even bigger.
Well, the thing is that if it's posted without any guarantee that if you want to be on it, you're going to be on it, then there has to be, we're looking for people who are interested, and we'll evaluate your background, and, I mean, it seems to me that's the way to go. Having worked with a committee of over 20 and had seen it whittle down to something that's workable, Scott and Mark remember that, it gets too wieldy at first, and then you focus on 10 to 14 people as an effective working group.
Okay.
We can advertise them besides the
Okay. Mark?
And we post it for 10 days, Lori? Is that what I think that's what we did for the alternate for CIP. That was your recommendation.
Yeah, I gotta bring something up after, but yes.
Do you want to bring something up before we make the motion for the committee?
No, it's just about the CIP thing that I didn't know about, we'll talk about after.
Okay. Mark?
Make a motion to establish the Grange Hall Building Committee.
Second?
I'd just like to make sure there's a clarification that this is a committee that's appointed by the board that reports to the board, and that the Preservation Society is a totally separate entity that does not report to the board.
Right.
So there's no confusion.
I think we should have a mission along with they need to know what their charge is. Are we gonna go with this right here?
Yeah, I would have been all right with that.
If you add search out grant opportunities to that,
For fundraising.
or fundraising, yeah, fundraising. Let's say fundraising, explore options, fundraising.
And what else is on there, Larry?
It says the purpose of this committee is to research, prioritize work, explore options, obtain estimates, and support construction-related activities of the Golden Lodge Grange Hall.
So it seems to me, after explore options and before obtain estimates, we could put in fundraising.
Fundraising, yeah.
So maybe the fundraising should stay with the Swanzey Preservation Society, and maybe a statement could be made to, say, work with the Swanzey Preservation Society on funding?
I disagree. I think this committee is a separate committee, and I think that the role of trying to find and fundraise should be part of this committee's work. I mean, you're going to be the building committee, and it seems to me that that's a narrower focus than the Preservation Society, which is looking at the whole town.
However, I think the focus has been with the Grange for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So I just, if you don't mind, sorry, just, I tend to agree with Mark, Jay, on this, because the primary holdback has been a purpose. What is the purpose for the building? And that's clearly stated in the assessment, that's got to be clarified. And I would rather see the building committee focus on that, and then what's needed to achieve it, at least initially, because otherwise I would normally agree with you, but I think that there's some people that are listed on this committee now who have already been working on fundraising, and perhaps instead of being on the building committee, they could be on it, but be that subset that you talked about.
Okay.
Where that would be their focus.
Requiring 2 sets of skills.
I could see that, and basically, the Preservation Society, if they're gonna look beyond the Grange Hall, would want to be fundraising for other things too. So, I mean, that, keeping that within that makes sense in that view too. So I can be swayed, but maybe I can be swayed back. So, Scott?
That makes sense too, it does, that it could be a subset of the building committee to do that, because the fundraising and the building committee are two really
I agree.
separate things, and involved, and both of them are equally involved, but they both should work together, because you need one for the other. Saban was talking to me about, getting plans, things like that, to submit some for some of these grants, so really it could be a subset committee, but then work together with the building committee once it's all what's gonna do to write the grants, but, yeah, they're two separate things.
So in our mind, we think of the Preservation Society as being the fundraising engine, and the building committee being the focused work on the Grange.
In my mind, it's like that, but it also could be, if you wanted this building committee to focus on both things, it could be a subcommittee of that committee, same members, but working, branching off to the fundraising and part of the committee on to
Yeah.
the,
Which is what my original thought was, but I can be swayed either way, as long as it gets done.
Okay. So we're gonna add that to the motion. Mark, are you okay with that, or do you want us to, Sue, you want us to help you with that? Okay, so, did you jot something down? All right. So Sue, see if you can get this.
Can you read it?
By having a subcommittee, it might reduce the members, active members in the building.
Okay.
Might get it.
All right, hold on out there. Go ahead, Mark.
Sure.
People.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the Grange Hall Building Committee. The purpose of the committee is to research, prioritize work, explore options, obtain estimates, seek funding, and support construction-related activities for the Golden Rod Grange Hall.
Second?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Second, discussion, all good? You were gonna say something?
No, I was gonna second it, but Bill beat me to it.
Okay, so Bill seconded it. I'm gonna call all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we got through it.
May I ask one question?
Sure.
Would you
Thank
all,
you.
would you all prefer that we appoint a chair, or do you want to appoint a chair yourself once we have the committee fully formed?
I think we should appoint. I think we should appoint.
Okay.
Don't have to say no in front of everybody. For any position.
All right, I'm gonna move on, because we had a long night ahead of us. We got
Thank you.
non-public too.
Thanks
Thank you,
very much,
guys.
Eileen.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. All
Is there
right,
any-
I want to go, Lori, I want to go back to the, Ashley, we know Ashley's not coming, but we did have Neil here. I just want to let Neil come up and speak a little bit, and then we'll have to bring this back to the table, but at least while he came here, let's hear what he has to say. Neil, want to come up and talk to us? I just don't want you to come for nothing. I didn't know Ashley was sick.
I'm part of the town.
That's
It's all
right.
important stuff. It's
That's
okay.
right, that's right. So I just wanted you to have the opportunity to approach the board. Hold on. Are you guys all set? Okay. Okay? All right. All right, now, explain to us what's going on down there and what you feel that's needed or not needed. Go ahead.
Okay, I understand there's some money allocated to improve the backstop so
Correct.
that balls don't come and damage my vehicles. and I'm all for that, and I tried to give Ashley some input, and she referred me to Joe DeRusso and said he had the final say. So I stopped by to see Joe. He's a great guy. We had a nice conversation and a few emails back and forth, and he told me he really has nothing to do with it. So I came here tonight to find out what's going on, because Joe said I should come.
Okay.
So I was here
Okay.
just to gather information, and to reiterate that I've never complained about balls coming in my yard.
Yep.
I help kids find them. I'm very kind to the kids. And the only thing I want is for the balls not to hit my vehicles and cause lots of damage, which I've paid for out of my
Okay.
own pocket.
Okay, we won't address who you're supposed to speak to. We'll figure that out as a board
Yeah.
after. What I need from you is, we did put some money aside
Yeah.
to try to solve that problem. I
Yeah.
was involved in it, Laurie was involved in it.
Yeah.
So, that being said, we are doing some work to it.
Yeah.
Now, your thing about this is you feel that what we're doing isn't gonna do what it's supposed to do.
I
So
don't-
I need you to explain that.
I don't know exactly what's going to be done. I didn't see any plans.
Well, what was your
Well, I
question
just-
gonna be to Joe? Maybe I should ask that.
I just wanted to say to Joe to make sure that the part of the backstop where the ball came flying over gets addressed.
Okay.
I don't want to see the town spend money needlessly on extending the fence down the first baseline to keep balls in the field. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine, it's up to you. That's not going to stop the vehicles from getting damaged, that's all. I wanted to make that clear.
Okay, but what makes you think that we're not doing that? Are they started the project? Do you see action and saying, wait a minute, you're not doing the right spot?
I don't know what's being done. I have no idea, other than I saw Ashley with Kyle the other day walking around, and I tried to give some input,
Oh, I see.
and she sent me to Joe.
I
And now
see.
it appears that she sent me to Joe just to get rid of me.
See, in my eyes,
That may not be true.
Well, it may
There
not be true,
some
but that's the way it
confusion there.
appears.
Sure, but I think there may be some confusion.
Yeah, well,
in my eyes, I thought we were starting the project and you thought it wasn't high enough or it
No.
wasn't in the right spot. So
No.
I was, my mistake.
No,
I didn't know.
it's
So
okay.
this is you just want to be informed of what is going to
I just
happen.
wanna know what's going on, and just to make sure that the town
Okay.
does the right thing and doesn't waste money on
Yep,
stuff.
yeah.
You know, the only thing I care about really is the balls coming over and damaging the vehicles. If they can get balls in my yard all day long, I'll help them find them.
Yep.
I'm not gonna yell at anybody.
Yep. Okay. Does Ashley know where this spot is that you're talking about, that where they go into your yard?
The last time I was here,
Yep,
I shared the plans with everyone,
yep,
and I dug them out, and I shared them again with Joe.
okay,
I don't know if she still has them. She said, oh, I may have them in my email,
okay.
you know.
All right. So I'm glad you came in tonight. What we'll do is we're going to look into it a little more, Laurie. We'll look into it. We don't know when the project's going to start, at least I don't know yet. Unless anybody has any knowledge of this, is anybody that wants to speak up on this?
She did have
Bill?
them at Adnock Fence
Right.
Company down there the other day.
Yeah, I think they do have a plan, and she and Kyle had been working on together from my understanding, it's hard without Ashley here, but it was to raise the backstop
Correct.
height.
Correct.
See, that's where you have to be careful, because if you raise the backstop 16 feet, it's not gonna stop those balls from coming over because of the parabola.
But I think our problem was we were only given a certain amount of funding for that, and then I think Ashley maybe mentioned something too about you wouldn't typically see the height that you're referring to on a backstop, that it would cost a lot of money.
Okay. So we have to do a little investigating of this
Yeah,
whole
we need to-
project.
We need to hear from Ashley to see what her and Kyle have came up with and go from there.
Neil, what we'll do is we'll do some more investigation about it. We'll talk about it with the board, and then maybe Laurie can send you a little email to update you on it. How's
That
that? If
sounds
we do
good.
that.
Sounds
Once we
good.
come to where we're at and everything,
Yeah.
I'll have Laurie email you and tell you where we're at, when the project's gonna start in the whole bit. How's that?
Sounds good.
All right, Neil.
Thank you for your time.
I think Neil wants to have an opportunity to review the plans with us.
I would love to just look at it, because like I said,
Before
I
it's
don't want
done.
to see the town waste money on putting up a fence down the first baseline, because it's gonna cost a lot of money, and it will keep balls in the ballpark, but that's not the issue.
And you don't know, I mean, you're the only one who knows how high it needs to be to prevent the balls coming over, because,
I did some 3D modeling
yeah,
for baseball flight, and I made a nice diagram. I measured everything from home plate to the backstop to the point of impact on the car, and I had all that. I still have it.
you just gotta tell the kids not to swing so hard.
Well, there's some big kids there now.
I know. What I'm saying is you can build the backstop only so high, and then it still could get a ball over it.
The thing is, the overhang
Mhm.
needs to go out about 8 feet.
Yeah,
And there's a problem with the weight of it and the angle of
Mhm.
it. But there are engineering solutions to that, and there's only 2 panels that really need to be addressed. Ashley was there, and she's down at first base. Well, I want a pole here, and I want this, and it's like, it's gonna cost a lot of money, and it's not gonna solve the problem. You know,
Hear you.
just-
we'll look into it.
Okay. Thank you.
Neil, thank you.
Thanks, Neil. That should be able to be pretty quickly done. That should be pretty quickly done.
Because baseball season's about to start.
All right, so how are we gonna, I wanna stay on this for a second, because how are we gonna move forward with this? Are we gonna reach out to Ashley when she comes back and have a little get-together with her? And, so, is Joe really not involved in this?
We should talk with him, but he's the
We need to talk
facilities,
with him.
he's the facilities
That's right.
director, so.
Yeah, so we need to, we'll put Joe involved in this,
Yeah,
all
we
right?
just wanted for her to come before the board before we change the plan that they had.
Gotcha.
That's why.
Okay,
Could
Larry.
you,
We knew we only had a certain
could
amount
you
of
get
time.
us an email of the plan, so we know what the plan is?
Yeah, I did ask for a memo for her to submit it and then to come present it tonight, but I think something was conflicting with her schedule, and didn't text me back, so we can get her on the agenda again.
Good. So fine.
She had a family emergency. They said they did the investigation.
But we can still get a copy of the plan, so we can
Yep,
understand
so we
what
can understand a little bit.
Neil's referring to.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to 8A, right, the Wickham. Oh, I'm sorry,
I
Mom.
want to say thank you to the board for your decision promotion today. I know I'm going to read my promotion for a second. Just want to say thank you.
There's pizza on your
Thank
way
you,
out the
Mark.
door if anybody would like a slice of
Oh.
pizza. Really? You guys want a slice of pizza, help
Sure.
yourself. Everybody's,
Take a plate.
yeah. Just stay away
Thanks,
from
Eileen.
that gluten-free one, it'll get you sick.
It'll deprive them of gluten,
There's plenty of gluten in there for everybody.
plenty of high energy.
Okay.
No, Bill's got that one.
Yeah, he stole it. So, we gotta go to the rental of the hall, right, Laurie? Right?
Or-
The contract for the rental.
No. I know. We didn't, so, wanna just skip that and move it?
Well, the only thing that we changed were the fees that we talked.
Yeah, but why don't we talk about Rick while we're on the Wickham Hall? No? Oh, that's not public.
So, Lori, the only question I had with regard to it was clarifying, maybe it's in there and I just missed it,
Okay.
which uses would require insurance? I know we're trying to,
The same uses, that's not changing.
so people,
Insurance.
well, but the complaint that came to us was a requirement that someone had who was just having a general meeting where they were required to get a certificate of insurance. And that was part of what we were looking at in this, is to make sure that it's clearly stated that if it's, how we were going to handle just a meeting as
It
opposed to a
said that in
function.
there was one line in there, except for general meetings, the insurance would be required except for general meetings, but no, general meetings weren't defined enough to be, it was a little,
Right, not like town meetings
Right.
or nonprofit.
Right.
and then the other question was not only insurance, but the cleaning fee. It's not clear, which functions require the cleaning fee. Remember we discussed that?
She did make a note of it. It was in the electronic package, right?
Yes.
It wasn't, yeah.
I'm gonna try to just log in here real quick and see.
So with what Jay's saying, a $50 cleaning fee will be applied for all events. This fee does not apply to standard meetings. It's
So
just-
like a typical board meeting, or if there
What
were.
if it's Cub Scouts? What if it's Girl Scouts? something along, in other words, I think what Jay and I are both saying is meetings ought to be more clearly defined.
How would we define that amount of people?
I don't know, that's why we have staff.
The load on the building, that kind of thing, is how many people are involved, how much furniture is gonna be used and moved around, how much, are they gonna play games in here, or, those kind of, there are all sorts of issues about what kind of event it is, whether it requires the kind of cleaning we're talking about, getting a $50 money for.
Is there gonna be food?
We didn't update, all of that. We updated the cleaning fees and the fee for the kitchen. That's all the updates that were done.
But I think, again, with the kitchen, there should be some clarification as well. If they're just using the sink, or are they gonna need to use the stove? Because the stove requires additional labor that we, at this point, would be either fire department or DPW until we get people trained.
I just assumed it would be, it's $25, I think she put, but that
Yes.
it would be
The kitchen, yeah.
for, if you need to use the kitchen, whether that's the sink or the stove.
So if you gotta go in that door, it's $25.
I mean, you could use a sink in the bathroom.
We know there's people that like the refrigerator.
So what are you thinking? Do we need
Well,
to
we could
spend
also
more
leave it
time
up
with
to,
this?
we could also leave it up to town staff to make this determination. Someone who makes a reservation, and whoever handles the reservations can decide whether this requires cleaning or whatever, and that person would then be consistent, because they would see all the applications, and they would decide, is it Christine who does this? So she would have the authority to decide what fees have to be charged.
I think that's the right way to go, because each case could be different,
Putting-
and they can be addressed right there. Kate, could you handle that?
And putting it
Right.
into
Trying-
words,
it's gonna be
covering every
difficult.
option is
Oh,
not
my
easy.
God. It'd be a nightmare to try to do
She
that.
has the checkbox too down here.
Mhm. But she can make her own determination about what's appropriate there. Somebody says,
Right.
well, we need to serve water, we're gonna pull the water out of the kitchen and use a pitcher. Well, is that $25 worth, or is that what we're gonna charge them for?
Yeah, I mean, a $25 fee applies for kitchen access.
So she makes the decision, and we go with that. But as I said, there's different uses of the kitchen that can be used. There's a stove, there's staging of, things that have to go and be washed afterwards, and, so.
Do you get a chance to go through it?
Yeah, but not too, no. And that's why I thought we would have more discussion on all this, but I like his idea now, because it is confusing to try to figure out what their needs are, and everybody's gonna come up with something else on us. As soon as well, wait a minute, we're gonna hear this constantly. Yes, Scott?
You could also use a deposit, where they get it back.
She does. It's
She
in
uses
there.
that?
It's all in there.
And they say it depends what you use, and we have that. If they leave the place really where there's a lot of work, we don't return the deposit. Right.
Does it address the liability of the use of the kitchen, like especially with power stove is?
Well, they have to
That
have
was
liability
the
insurance.
Yeah. All right, so where do we stand with this? Do we add to it that we're gonna leave it to town?
I'm
What do you think,
comfortable
Larry?
with Jay. I just want to be sure on the insurance part, so we don't
Yeah.
get somebody saying that so-and-so wanted to have a meeting of the local historical
Well, that would be-
society.
right.
And do they need to have a certificate of insurance?
Well, you brought up a good point. It could be Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, and it's a meeting, but it could be a lot different type of
Right.
meeting. And Jenny Gamalo come in here with 5 people and have a little meeting, because they're the ones that, because a little meeting like that, I agree with them when Mike came in here and said that. I agree. It shouldn't be, it's too much of a charge for insurance for just a little meeting, so.
And did we try to charge them? Is that what you're saying?
We did, I think, right? And
Yeah, that's what brought the
and
comment.
Mike, that's what brought this up, is he brought it to our
So
attention
we
that
haven't-
he doesn't feel that they would have to have insurance to have you know, to come in here and use it, just sit around a table and have a meeting.
They have in the past, right, all this time.
Yeah, they paid for the meeting, they paid for the use of the hall,
Right.
Correct,
paid for 2 hours, not 3,
They
but
pay
2
for an
hours.
insurance carrier.
They didn't have to get insurance.
right.
Yeah, I can have Katie add, something to that
Okay.
and then send it back to you guys.
Yeah, want to bring it back to us, and we'll have them make those additions, and then we'll review it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
You guys okay with that?
Do
Okay.
do we want to put like 10% on the cleaning fee to encourage her to charge it? What do you think? Just
Good
kidding,
thinking.
just totally kidding.
Don't
Have
put
we
that
had
in
a
the minutes.
conversation with the potential cleaner?
All right, that was good,
That's
Laurie,
enough,
right?
okay, got it.
Okay. I keep losing my track here because this feels like I'm bouncing around, but we have to do the assessing tax abatements, right?
That's the next thing, I think.
That's not non-public?
Nope, we decided to move it into public.
Could we just defer that for a minute, because I went to town hall today, but I didn't get, I asked for that file, but I didn't get it, unless these are the ones,
No, they're not in
They're
the
last
packet,
week's, they're the same ones that were on last week's.
Last week.
they are last
but
week's.
they're in here, Bill. They're in
Okay, I
here.
did see those. Okay, I did.
The fat ones, with the, yeah.
Okay,
Because we're
done.
using the new system that we have, right, Laurie?
Yep.
You brought that folder here, we can review them
We
here?
tabled them last week.
Right.
And they didn't change, the abatements haven't.
I'm good then.
Does anyone else have to read them?
I read them.
Okay, so all we really have to do is just sign those, and there's no motion
already
to.
signed.
It's
You don't
already
have,
done.
they're already signed.
We just have to do a motion
And if
to
you can just
approve.
double check to make sure that you sign all of the pages, because I think last time there was like one
I
signature.
just went through,
Yeah.
Jay and I did.
Perfect.
Okay, but there is a motion to be made to,
We did find that there were a couple of times you missed.
Really?
And Jay picked up, remember?
No, I didn't. Oh, yeah, you're right, all right.
okay, Mark's gonna make the motion.
I move to approve the slate of abatements as
You didn't
recommended
sign
by the.
anything.
Guys, making a motion.
Second?
Oh, what's the
I haven't
motion?
made it
Hold
yet.
on.
No, I thought you did.
I move to approve the slate of abatements as recommended by the town's contracted assessor,
Burn H.
Burn H Consultants.
I will second that, but I want to ask clarification on what the motion means, right? So that means we're following his recommendation, is what we're saying.
Correct.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay,
And thank you for doing that, Lori.
Thank you.
so,
I think we might want to table the
Mean-
schedule of meetings too, because they're not in the packet.
Oh, right.
Right. They were in the,
We can just table.
They're in
those.
yours, Bill?
I kind of, yeah, I was like getting it out. and
Okay.
I meant, actually, yeah, I meant to just, I knew they weren't in the packet, but I didn't just. print
okay,
them
we
all,
can
read
go
them.
past that.
you have all the upcoming ones in April here in the upcoming agenda items, so we know which days we're meeting in April, we just don't go any further than that.
Okay, so we'll move on to old business then, right? Personnel policy, right? Okay. Do you have
I just have
something
a
on
couple
that?
of new business, but we can do it after this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay, so we'll stay with the old business? Okay, so,
So I don't know if you have your copy from last week still. And I did, Bill had some questions on one of the areas in there, and I think I BCC'd you guys on an email and just clarified. There was a little bit of, miscommunication with a new HR coming in and then Michael transitioning out, so, but we were, because the attorney knew she had gone over these with Michael prior to, so we figured all that out. And the area that you had spoke to last week, Bill, was already approved in the 2022 anti-discrimination and harassment rules of procedure, so that has already been approved. And what she did was just took the old one that she had drafted with Michael and added all the new language to it.
Which was in yellow, which was highlighted.
I think I did go in and highlight it for you
Yeah.
guys, yeah. And then the other part was the the beginning had some, let me just pull it up here.
I'd like to discuss this in non-public, not this, but an aspect of this in non-public afterwards, but not.
But we can move
Yeah.
to accept it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got a bunch of non-publics, so that's why.
My main concern, Lori, again, is with the line that free of all forms of discrimination. I think that should be tied to the protected classes, because there's other forms of discrimination that this is opening the door to that we may not even be thinking about. But if it's relative to the protected classes, I'd be comfortable with that.
Yeah, it actually states it,
When it gets into more specifics on the policy. I'll go along with the board. The static you're bringing tonight is quite refreshing. It's a wake-up call. You're doing good.
Is this a lightning storm coming in, or what is it?
It was pretty exciting last night.
Oh, my God.
I have my notes. It's hard to do it without, okay, got it. Okay, so the part Bill was referring to last week, it states, all employees should be able to work in an environment free from all forms of discrimination, intimidation, and harassment, including sexual harassment. But if, she pointed out to me when I spoke with her that right, the sentence before that is where it is addressing all of that discrimination, so, which says, the town believes that each individual employed by us has a right to be free from illegal discrimination or harassment because of race, creed, color, religious creed, national origin, age, sex, including pregnancy, marital status, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, physical or mental disability, genetic information, or veteran status. So she's basically saying that then the next sentence that goes on is referring to what it was just.
So it is defined to what that
But it
is,
doesn't.
right?
Without specifically referring to it, I
Right.
agree with Bill.
But you do want to have a little bit of flexibility there. And we just went through this with, what policy were we working on?
So,
Oh, the discipline policy, where, like, I think what was in there first was like really, really strict, where she's like, and she came back and said, I would, have a little bit more flexibility, and I agree with her, because you don't want it to be like, well, you just, like, there are cases where you want it to be flexible,
So
for
if
the
I-
town or the employee.
if I wanted to claim that all the blue-eyed people were paid less than the brown-eyed people, that wouldn't be a protected class, but it would be discrimination of some sort if it was documented fact. I'm just making that up.
No, I'm agreeing with Jay, and Scott can tell you that when lawyers come in and appeal, using the word "or" with a comma before it or a comma after it can have a totally different meaning than what was anticipated. And I don't agree that listing those protected classes and then having a separate clause that states all forms of discrimination refers back to those protected classes. It's a separate, it's an expansion. All of that.
So if it said, free from all of the above forms of discrimination, refer directly, that sentence referred to the previous, that would fix it?
But that's really putting like a strict.
But it should be, because
But-
otherwise, like he said, blue eyes versus brown eyes.
We're saying we believe this, and we're saying we believe that they should be free of all these above forms of discrimination, that's all we're saying. We're not saying that there isn't other kinds of discrimination, but this is what we believe. Well, we might want to add some clause to that above if something else comes up another time, but all we're saying is that the discrimination we're talking about refers to what we've mentioned, all these different opportunities to discriminate.
I thought it was because it was too vague of a comment, too vague of a statement, right? That's what.
Too broad.
A little too broad, because it could include something frivolous. Saying I'm being discriminated because I'm old. When it, or not old, but maybe I've got a wart on my face or something like that. I'm just making all this up because may seem trivial to us now, but somebody with a lawyer could decide that there's something actionable here. Now, I agree with Bill, if we're gonna list the forms up there, and we were pretty comprehensive in listing all those forms of discrimination, then maybe we ought to make sure that the paragraph is tight and refers only to those forms of discrimination. I think we're nitpicking in a way, but I think it might be
I
helpful.
think it's big time nitpicking myself. I'm against it. I think we should accept it, but we can vote on it and go with it, but.
I'd be happy either way, it's just that I understand Bill's point.
Doesn't have to be a unanimous vote, guys.
But we could call a vote, and where it lies, right?
Yep.
Right? I say you make the motion, and we see where it falls.
I move to approve the addendum to personnel policy as written with the effective date of April 1st.
Second?
Second it?
Could we hear it one more time? Please,
The disputed clause sentence?
the one that we're about to vote on.
Oh, the whole thing?
Or just the section I see.
Just
from
what?
the beginning line
We're not voting on the line, we're voting on the whole policy.
Hang on, this,
Yeah, but he's gonna make his decision on this.
I know, but are is his motion for the whole personnel policy? That's what I think he
Yes.
just did. So Alan asked to hear the whole thing, she's gonna be here for 30
Well-
minutes reading the whole thing.
No, I
He
mean,
means-
the
he
part
just
that's in
means the
contention.
proper-
Okay, that's what I wanted to
The
clarify.
part we're entertaining right now, that's what he meant.
I had scrolled down, hold on. It's right there. This is why the one on when you can use your finger, it works so much better. Okay, so the whole paragraph is, the town believes that each individual employed by us has the right to be free from illegal discrimination or harassment because of race, creed, color, religious creed, national origin, sex, age, including pregnancy, marital status, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, physical or mental disability, genetic information, or veteran status. And then the other area is all employees should be able to work in an environment free from all forms of discrimination, intimidation, and harassment, including sexual harassment. All employees must treat each other with courtesy, consideration, and professionalism.
Thank you.
All right, motion been made and seconded.
All right,
So
you
it's
made
been
the
made
motion, you seconded, so, discussion?
Again, I'm just going to say, I think that particular clause should be referring back directly to the protected classes.
It's a minor edit, but I also think it.
But you set for discussion, so now you
Right.
asked for it, so.
I did.
Well, can we change the clause to what you think would be better?
Yeah, just language that all forms of discrimination as referred to, I mean, all forms of protected class discrimination.
Or an environment free from the above-mentioned forms of discrimination.
Yeah, I like that better.
Yeah. Can we do that? Jimmy, are you okay with that?
Mark would have to amend his motion.
Which,
Yeah, I like it the way it is.
do you have any input in this, to change it?
I'm gonna lean on the attorneys.
That's what I'm leaning on, the attorney.
Should we refer to them and come back to this next week?
Well, she has
The
already.
attorney's already.
She's already
spoken to
referred it to the attorney.
But not on this basis.
Right.
And this is our current, that statement is already in our current ones that are already approved.
Doesn't mean we didn't err 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, call your vote.
Okay, so you made the motion, you seconded it, discussion's over, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
done.
You gotta call the opposed. Because we get to
Anybody
be on the
opposed?
record. Aye.
Aye, or nay,
Wow.
and there are no abstentions, so, you know.
Oh,
We've had a 3-2 vote, we haven't had one of those yet.
So it was a 3-2 vote?
Yeah, Passed.
So when the suit comes, Jay and I are leaving.
You're free of the lawsuit. We know how that works.
Bill and Jay.
Mr. Chair, I have two items.
Sure.
One that came up yesterday. A couple of weeks ago, we signed on to a letter requesting that net metering be extended by 20 years from 2040 to 2060. That bill is coming up in front of committee next week, and we've been approached by Frank Richter through the Clean Energy, I think, whatever the forum is, to ask if we would reaffirm our vote to request that the legislature extend the net metering by an additional 20 years. And if that's all right, I could just send them an email tomorrow that the board is in favor of continuing, and we would join that list that we had before. I've got copies here if anybody wants to look at the letter.
Do we,
I did read it already.
when you do that,
Was it in the packet?
No. it was from
when you
the
do
email.
that, Bill, I think you said,
What's that, Sue?
If Bill can just explain, Sue thought the same thing, that we had already did it, but this is another.
It's moving through the legislative process. So we did do the initial one, and now now the committee is going to have a public hearing. I think it's next week. And they're asking for us to reaffirm our support for the extension of net metering. I'm assuming that if it comes out favorably from committee, it'll go to the floor, and then they'll be asking us once more to continue.
it's like testifying in front of the committee.
Yeah. And he did indicate that we could send somebody to testify in front of the committee if you'd like to do a road trip, Laurie.
And the other thing was, didn't he say we could include in it the benefits we received from it already?
Yep.
You know, we should mention that we have received substantial benefits from the net metering, and we wish that to continue. It's important to our town's
Yeah, and
finances.
it really raises the question of what happens if it expires in 2040, and we're generating 7,000 kilowatts a month, and then it expires. What happens to that? And that's less than 15 years away, and well within the time period that we expect that unit to produce.
Right.
So what do we need on that?
Do we need a motion, or do we need a consensus?
Consensus.
I'm with you.
I got it,
Now,
yes.
is that something?
A long list of people that
we need to
support
have a
this.
letter sent in,
No,
or-
all I need to do is just email them tomorrow and with paragraph like Jay suggested, and if that's okay with the board, I
Yes,
can do it.
absolutely.
So perfect, because you don't have to do nothing.
Not yet, not yet.
That's great, you got out of this one.
Yes.
Okay, it's consensus, we're all agreeable to this, right? For Bill to
Yes.
email?
Absolutely.
All right, what else do you have on your hat there?
Jim and I have been working with the Swanzey Water Sewer Advisory Committee for the last couple of months to facilitate the meetings with Underwood for both water and sewer. And it would be appropriate for us at the meeting tomorrow to essentially let the committee take off and obviously continue to participate, but not be running the meeting. So my request would be, if you all are amenable to that we either appoint a chair and vice chair, or we ask the committee tomorrow to select their choices.
Can I ask, what you two have been meeting with them, do you have, you don't have to mention names, but do you have ideas in mind of who would be a good?
Well, in fairness to Jim, I didn't prompt him for this.
Okay,
This just
okay.
came up today.
But I'm just saying, do you have anybody in mind that you
Yes.
have that you'd like to be a chair? And Bill says yes. I don't know if Jimmy has made that determination yet.
Sidebar here.
I do.
What is the title of the committee? What's the committee?
Oh,
Apparently.
Do we need that information?
And they're all in on that. I like that.
Well, I would be happy.
I don't know if he'll take
I
it.
know they're talking, but I would be happy if the two of them were to come together and decide who they know from the committee, because they've been meeting with the committee, should be the chair. And I think we should appoint the chair for such an important committee.
What committee is this?
The Swansea Water and Sewer Advisory Committee.
How do you feel about that, Mark?
We actually have this committee on.
Yep. Oh, yeah, we appointed it
Advisory.
earlier in the year.
Mark, are you willing to let them
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
decide? I mean, if the first question is whether we should be the ones who appoint the chair, and I think we should be. And the second thing is, should we let Jim and Bill, who've been seeing the members of that committee work,
I agree on
decide
both.
who should be the chair?
We should decide, you should decide, because you know who's on the
I'm just gonna do whatever you recommend. I'm not gonna second guess you.
I do. Want to move on it? Okay. You can.
Oh, go ahead.
It was, we were going to recommend Scott for chair. Surprised, right?
Yeah.
Shocked.
And then. I support that. You support that? That's big support.
The whole audience, could you note that
And then
the
we
entire
have,
audience
the
supports?
finance, we want Pat for vice chair. And then Pat Ambrosio, is that how you say his name? You know Pat, Scott?
I do, I just met him at that committee.
Right. We were gonna make him vice chair. And then finance, we were thinking about Steve Biddle.
Yeah, is he on the committee?
He is on the committee.
He's,
Glad to have him on the committee.
yeah,
Do you know how to spell Pat's last name?
yeah, AMBROSIO.
OSIO.
That's if he accepts, I'm not sure what he, we don't know that yet. Okay?
If he wants to, because he hasn't shown up at the meetings there, I hope he does.
That's what I'm saying. He's.
Which one?
Steve Bill.
No, he's talking about Pat.
I'm talking
So
about
Steve-
Pat.
Steve Biddle's very interested in the financing aspect of it.
What time is tomorrow's meeting? In the afternoon? Huh?
10 o'clock.
10.
So we need a motion for this, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So I move that we, I can move some. I move that we authorize Mark and Jim to appoint the chair, Jimmy and Mark,
The board.
Jimmy and Bill.
The board, we appoint.
Yes. The board would like to appoint Scott Self as the chair, Pat Ambrosio the vice chair, and Steve Biddle as the finance person for the Water and Sewer, Swansea Water and Sewer Advisory Committee.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
So when,
Congratulations, Scott.
The reason why I thought it
I
was
think it's
important
congratulations.
for the committee was, Michael actually brought it to my attention that after we voted the alternate in last week for the CIP, he mentioned that it was approved by town meeting, the capital improvement committee. And so I need to check with town council just to make sure that everything is, that we can actually do that. I didn't realize that it was appointed, I thought it was like an established committee, because usually the planning board will establish it, but I didn't realize it was actually on the ballot and it was approved as a however many committee. I don't know if
that
we
would have been
can.
decades ago.
But alternates aren't approved by the town, they aren't
I think
voted
we're
on by the
fine.
town.
I think we're fine,
I think-
it was brought to my attention, so I'm just letting you know.
I'm expecting to learn at the session on April 22nd I go to from the NHMA that alternates can be appointed by the select board to any of the committees in town. I'm expecting to learn that. I think that's the way it works. But I may be wrong. I'll find out.
It would be interesting to see the language, because it wasn't appointing individuals.
Yeah,
It
I
was
haven't had a
appointing,
chance
it was
to
just
look back
establishing the CIP, but that goes back. Scott, do you remember? It goes way back.
It does go way back, yeah, I don't remember the year, but yeah, I know what you're talking about, it does go way back.
I don't wanna reach
So
out
you
to, I'm
remember
just
when we
gonna
started
put it
this,
through
we never had
NHMA.
one?
I understand
Oh,
the
wait. How many
issue,
years have we had
because
this yet?
if it wasn't part of the original
One
committee
acre.
structure,
It dissipated, and then it came back
Really?
around 2014.
wow.
Wow.
So if anybody,
Yeah, I'll bet whatever
feels like
it's at,
researching
yeah.
what it's all being about, so that I can copy and paste it.
But even then, even if we find that no alternates were allowed then, it would seem, well, the question is whether the select board has the authority to go ahead and, to do alternates, because if there was a vacancy on that committee, we could appoint somebody to fill out the term as an alternate. So it seems to me we should have the ability to create an alternate position on that board, but I could be wrong. Might be a question for
I
Cordell.
learned something new.
I didn't know until Bill just told me some towns operate with no CIP. I just can't imagine. How do you do that?
Right?
How do you even do that?
Well, selectmen do it.
Is selectmen do it?
Not well, but they do it.
Right, that's crazy. That's a lot.
Is there anything in here that has to be
Okay.
I believe that's all taken care of already.
This is all done. This is
That one is signed by
is it?
three of us, I think, but if you need to sign it, check, you should check, just to be
Nothing?
sure.
My brain's fried right
Yeah,
now.
good. Because we have to
Yeah, I
do
think we
the
have both signed everything on that.
And Mark did too.
correspondence. You have
Mark-
something under that, right?
Bill just talked
Oh,
about
I didn't.
Oh, Bill just talked about,
Oh, I missed that.
it. Okay, unless you don't have any more
What's that?
correspondence.
I missed that.
correspondence. You just talked about it.
He's only-
Mr. Scott, I won't say public input, I'll say your input. Have any input?
No, I think you covered it all.
Fantastic. All right. Yeah, we got some non-public I think we have to discuss, so we're done.
Make a motion to go into non-public.
Second?
Lori?
Roll call.
Roll call. LaBelle.
Here.
Tempesta. Pepper. Rose.
Yes.
Ward.
Okay, you can shut us down. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Scott. Thanks, Stefan.
Thanks, Scott. Congratulations.
See you tomorrow.
Hey, Scott, bring some pizza home.